Retired Air Force General Mike Hayden is also the former head of the CIA and then the NSA, the National Security Agency, so he is uniquely qualified to discuss this on many levels. Mike Hayden joins us live now from Washington, D.C. General, we welcome you back to America's Forum.
Thank you. Good morning.
As a man who ran our intelligence apparatus, you're in a unique position to comment on what transpired. As we get the details coming in, what's your overall impression of this operation to capture this so-called Benghazi mastermind?
Well, certainly it's a successful operation, done without casualties on either side. You know, you look at that process we work on: find, fix, finish. And finish can mean capture, or it could be a lethal activity. A successful operation. Now, it's taken us a while to do that, and frankly, I don't know the reason for that timetable. It could be that this presented us with the best operational opportunity that we had, and therefore we moved on the intelligence. In any event, it's good news, and you know, in another way too, we need to understand this for exactly what it is. This is a rendition. We went into another country without the cooperation of the host country, and it's not even clear with the knowledge of the host country, and pulled someone out, moving him from place A to place B and putting him in our custody.
So you classify this as a rendition, certainly a part of waging war, at least the way I take a look at this. Now, the whole question of warfare and the rules of warfare, the laws of warfare internationally, sparking a debate here because we're seeing the administration, in the words of Senator Mitch McConnell, treat this as a law enforcement issue. In fact, General Hayden, speaking of the Senate, why don't we take a listen to the debate that some senators are really having? Should he be held at Gitmo? Should he be tried in an American courtroom in Washington, D.C.? Here are the comments of 4 senators compiled by the Washington Post.
Yes, because he's under the rules of war, he's not a criminal. He's a enemy combatant.
You know, I think the decision to try him according to the laws of the United States is smart. You know, our court system has done a good job in these terrorist trials, and I would support what I understand is the current plan to carry out the trial in that way.
We need to see what he's charged with, and so it's too early to tell on that.
I think they need to be held in some sort of security. If it's Guantanamo or not, it doesn't matter to me as long as they brought the justice and put away for a long time.
So, General, you hear from 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats closing out Mark Begich of Alaska, saying the guy's got to be held on to. But the spectacle of a trial in the middle of Washington, D.C., in the C. Everett Perryman courtroom, do we run a risk in terms of the way we wage war, in terms of our intelligence sources and methods, bringing this guy back, putting him in an American courtroom, reading him his Miranda rights? Is this a dangerous step for our country?
Wow, a lot of questions loaded in there. Let me try to unpack them one at a time. First of all, there is a technical legal question here. Can we consider him, we Americans, consider him an enemy combatant? Because that enemy combatant definition is tied tightly to the authorization for the use of military force right after 9/11. And that definition is those responsible for or supporting the attacks of 9/11. And frankly, that gets to be a pretty thin tether when you forward all the way up to what happened in Benghazi a couple of years back. Frankly, I can be somewhat indifferent to how he ends up, as long as we understand, as several of your senators pointed out, that at the beginning of this process, this is all about the intelligence. And so if we have enough time between now and when he's read his Miranda rights, that could actually work if we handle this sequentially. Right now, he should be subject to intense intelligence interrogation and, frankly, a bit indifferent to what happens in the court case if and when that comes later. It's a severable decision. So right now, intelligence. Get intelligence from this individual.
Well, General Hayden, I want to focus on the intelligence aspect of this and the timing aspect of it as well. You know, there's been a lot of folks asking in the press if members of the media were able to get this guy and ask him questions. Why was he not in custody before yesterday? But is it possible that there were eyeballs on this guy and that he was still generating some sort of intelligence while he was out in the field and he was more valuable, perhaps not in custody at that point?
Certainly it's possible. Can I look at that and say, yeah, that could be the sequence of events? Certainly, it's plausible. Do I know that? No, I don't. It might be that we wanted a very high level of confidence before we put Americans at risk in trying to take this fellow down, in which would have been an involuntary meeting between him and Americans, unlike the ones he had with newsmen before this.
General Hayden, you wear so many hats when you join us as a former commanding officer in the military and also chairing the different intelligence agencies here in this country. You also know your way around Capitol Hill when you have to testify. And Speaker John Boehner issued a statement yesterday. It reads in part, quote, "It is obviously good news that this terrorist is now in American custody, and I'm grateful for the work of our military assisted by the FBI in capturing him. I look forward to hearing more details regarding the raid, and I expect the administration to give our military professionals time to properly gather any useful intelligence he has." General, that goes right back to your observation about rendition and putting this terrorist on a slow boat to America. I mean, now this part of the rendition, getting the intelligence out of him, how long do you think he'll remain at sea?
Well, that part I don't know. Let me tell you what we did during the second Bush administration when we changed our approach to CIA black sites. We had a unit of time that we used to keep someone for intelligence purposes. Again, for intelligence purposes, and it was 60 days. Now, I could renew that in 60-day increments, but you get the point. At the 60-day point, you wanted to take stock. Have I pretty much gotten the actionable intelligence that I want to get out of this individual? You know, in one sense, it's a bit ironic. President Obama, a day or two into the administration, closed the CIA black sites. And now, with this individual, Mr. Katala, having been grabbed in a rendition from Libya, we've got him on, for want of a better word, you'd call a gray site, because he's on a U.S. naval ship. And we need to keep him there for as long as he has intelligence value. Then it's a separate decision. We can turn him over to the American court system, if that's what the administration wants to do. We can turn him over to Guantanamo, although, frankly, as a policy matter, that will not happen under this administration. And I guess that's the point I want to make. We can argue whether or not Guantanamo or an Article III court is the right decision for this person. But in my heart of hearts, I don't think it's a good position to say that Guantanamo is not an acceptable answer for anyone we might capture now or in the future.
General Hayden, we would be remiss if we did not call on both your military experience and your work in the field of intelligence to take a look at what is happening in Iraq, the unraveling of the Iraqi nation. Your assessment right now, in the 2 minutes remaining, if you had a checklist of what the United States should be doing militarily and strategically in Iraq, what would that be?
The first thing is I would make a presumption, pretty much indicated by the tone of your question. I think Iraq has pretty much ceased to exist. It's divided into three parts. You've got Kurdistan, which is quite healthy. You've got Sunnistan, which right now is controlled by terrorists. And then you've got the rump state of Iraq, which I'll call Shiistan, which is the only part under Nouri al-Maliki's control. I don't see them getting back together, and we need to deal with that reality. I'd give some help to the Maliki government, but not so much so that it would appear we're making war on Sunnis. Right now, your reporting said there's serious fighting around the Baji oil refinery. That has to remain part of Shiistan, the old rump state of Iraq, for it to be viable. Enough support to stabilize that front line, make good friends with the Kurds, take their offer to have a U.S. security presence there, and treat Sunnistan in many ways the way we treat Waziristan now.
General Mike Hayden, as always, we appreciate your insights and analysis. It is somewhat dramatic news, to say the least, John, the General talking about 3 nation states or regions out of what we used to call Iraq this morning.
Correct. Great to see you, General Hayden. Also talking, of course, about Afghanistan and that kind of lawless region, Waziristan. Could see a Similar situation in Iraq.
So the rise of some new stands, according to General Michael Hayden, in the future of Iraq. And meantime, he says about the terrorist showing up for trial in an American courtroom, quite frankly, he's indifferent to that notion. His word.
Yeah.
Your take on that? We'd love to have it via Twitter at NewsmaxTV, #America's Forum. There is also email and Facebook, and we're coming right back.